Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for joining in today, and thank you for your time. Uh, uh, I don't know how exactly introduce you, but I believe you are mainly into this emotional eating coaching, right? You are emotional eating coach, uh, and what I understand from that is that using tapping or EFT, you help and guide people how to eat mindful, right? That mindful eating should be there, and not the junk eating, or like how to stop your cravings basically. So that is where I think your expertise is, and you can just guide us on that. Probably you can share your journey, uh, how you became master in this, and yeah, please, Jason, if you could share something about yourself. Maybe I think I missed some of your other skills as well, but yeah, please share those things.
Yeah, thank you, Adwait, for inviting us to have this conversation. I think it's really powerful to spread such uh, like a powerful technique, right?
Yeah.
Tapping is really, really powerful. So I'm Jason Winters, and I'm
Yeah.
in Maryland. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, I use tapping what it is, for what it is. Basically, it's a stress
Yeah.
reduction technique, and it's really,
Mm-hmm.
really powerful, and it really works. So anxiety,
Yeah.
stress, feelings of overwhelm, fears that we have, doubts that we have, limiting beliefs, self-talk, all of that is, or one or some of that is what causes us to have blocks,
Yeah.
somewhere where we're not moving forward where we want to. And so the reason
Mm-hmm.
that I choose to really support people around emotional eating is because that was my story. And for years and years and years, I thought that it was a diet. I thought it was, lack of willpower. I thought I needed a new diet, or there was something around the eating and the food.
Mm-hmm.
And after understanding, going through coaching school, learning tapping, doing a lot of introspective work, I realized clearly that this was an emotional issue.
Mm-hmm.
Always was, and
Mm-hmm.
until it's addressed, always will
Mm-hmm.
be. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
the same things that we support emotional eating with EFT is the same thing that we break through blocks in our business or anxiety or anything. It's, the way that we do everything, or the
Mm-hmm.
way that we do one thing, rather,
One
the way
thing,
that we do
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing is the way that we do everything. So
absolutely,
when you
yeah.
have eating issues that are out of control, that often shows up in our business, it
Mm-hmm.
shows up, in our spiritual life as well. It shows
Mm-hmm.
up. So we have to have balance. We have to figure out, what is the issue.
Yeah.
So I do not focus on diets, and I do not
Mm-hmm.
focus on, labeling foods that are good or bad, or, removing things from your diet. When you
Mm-hmm.
come from an abundant mentality, you look at
Mm-hmm.
what can I add, that will
Yeah.
help me to not feel like I'm lacking so much around food and things like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
the approach with emotional eating is really digging in to see what the root cause of the eating is. What is the
Mm-hmm.
emotional block, or what is the emotional belief? What is the
Mm-hmm.
limiting belief? And when we're using tapping, we're able to access that memory or those thoughts or those feelings in a way that
Mm-hmm.
feels safe to us. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's about clearing. Sometimes it's about
Mm-hmm.
just being with those
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always mean that things need to go away. Sometimes the idea of like clear, clear, clear. And sometimes we just need to be with those because that is who we are at this moment, and it's a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
And as we tap, then we realize like, oh, which parts no longer serve me, which parts I don't need, which parts can clear on their own, which parts I may need to take more of an active role in trying to clear out.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's really, really powerful to just see where in your life you want to see improvement, whether it is your
Right.
eating or your business or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
you. So
And I
that's kind of
believe
my
what,
approach.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think what you are trying to say is that basically with tapping, one can become more aware about um, what he or she is eating, right? I mean, and it's all about that only. So I can
Yeah.
totally relate to that, because in past I have also gone through such phase in my life where I was stressful, and I used to eat a lot, and so yeah, I have also my own journey related to that. But over a period of time, yeah, I became present to that, and I have tried to come out of that. But yes, I can at least relate to some of the things that you shared. And
Yeah.
of course, I mean, yeah, that's a great thing. But just wanted to know this, and like how this what is that psychology, right? What is that mindset? And in terms of in layman terms, how do you want to relate both these things, like tapping with emotional eating? And when you say emotional eating, can you please elaborate more on that? In our day-to-day life, where do we do that? So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something really interesting about what it is that what we don't want, right? I forget exactly how you put it, but
Mm-hmm.
in life we can focus on things that we don't want,
Mm-hmm.
but we also need to balance that out with things that we do want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell you whatever you do, don't think about a pink elephant. The first thing that you're going to think about is the pink
Mm-hmm.
elephant,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's how the brain works. So the
Mm-hmm.
more we think about the things that we don't want in
Yeah.
our life, right? And you ask specifically around eating, what we don't want is to be sick. What we don't want, or society has taught us that we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have, or you don't want to be sick, you don't want to be overweight, you don't want to be obese, you don't want to eat bad foods, and you don't want whatever it is. And so what has happened is we've created a culture where we're
Mm-hmm.
hyper focused
Mm-hmm.
on the don't wants, and it
Yeah.
makes us obsessed
Mm-hmm.
of resisting those things. And
Yeah.
because we're resisting constantly, resisting foods that we've demonized or we've labeled as bad, what
Yeah.
we resist persists. So it keeps
Persist.
coming
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
us. So the longer you resist the bread, or you're resisting the cookies, or you're resisting the sugar, it's just going to be the
Okay.
thing that you're going to think about all the time. Just like
Mm-hmm.
that pink elephant that we don't want to
Yeah.
think about, right? It's just going to
Mm-hmm.
constantly think of, you're thinking
Yeah.
about that. And so we're getting that through TV and through social media and all of the ways that we're getting it. And so that is what has fed our subconscious mind for so many years, and now that's all we
Yeah.
think about. And people are
Yeah.
totally obsessed with
Right.
food and eating
Right.
healthy foods and because someone told them. But when we start
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what we want more of, as
Mm-hmm.
from an individual, not from what somebody else told you should want, or they told
Right.
you that you want, but when you really sit with yourself and you
Right.
realize, what I really want is
Yeah.
my health on this particular level, and you're able
Right.
to define those things, then
Right.
you can use tapping
Yeah.
in a way to really connect with those things, and you can also
Mm-hmm.
use tapping to really connect with the things that you don't want. Is that really true for
Correct.
you, or is
Correct.
it
Correct.
based off
Correct.
of what someone else told us? And
Right.
so this is pretty high level. So
Yeah.
without, you tell me if you want me to go more into this, that's fine. But the other thing I
Yeah.
wanted to say is, with emotional eating and in any issues, fears, and things that we have in life, we have the logic and we have the emotion. So
Mm.
logically, we know
Mm.
these are the foods that are going to make me feel better. These are foods that are
Right.
going to energize me. These are foods that are going to, excite me. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
cookies or, the fruits and vegetables, all of these foods have a place in our life to create
Yeah.
balance for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because we are constantly listening to outside sources that kind of
Mm-hmm.
tell us that our own intuition is wrong, basically, is what it
Right.
says. Now we start to give our power away and our control when we
Mm-hmm.
start listening and tuning into these things, whether it be diets or, even how you practice self-care. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
controlled
Mm-hmm.
by an app or something
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
nature. And I use apps. I use tapping
Yeah.
apps. I use all sorts of apps, and I love them. But
Mm-hmm.
I have to check in too and see like, how is this serving me? Is this
Yeah.
what I need, today, or things
Right.
like that? So really checking in. Emotional eating, interesting enough, being an emotional eating coach, it really isn't
Mm-hmm.
about the food.
Mm-hmm.
We're really addressing the issues that lead up to the emotional
Mm-hmm.
eating, because there's
Okay.
really no way to focus on, emotional eating. I mean,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
do tapping around emotional eating, but the layers underneath
No.
is really what we need to get to in order to
Right.
address that one specific issue.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. The way you said that, I think you talked about the very basic thing, right? The foundation of any a healthy psychology, right? Whether it's about eating or like a finance issue, relationship, or probably anything, right? But the way you explain it, I think like our viewers would be easily be able to relate that. So you have hit the very basic thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. But Jason, you know what, like in for example, from me, in my professional life, let's say if I come across a situation which is kind of a little bit stressful, I have seen that I'm not able to eat after such critical discussions or some critical meetings, because
Hmm.
right after that I keep on thinking about those things, right? And basically there are some people who eat a lot in certain
Hmm.
situation. I'm the kind of a person I cannot eat, so where this tapping can help us here. This is one of the examples. I'm sure people around there have different issues, but I think this is emotional eating issue.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have basic needs. We have our core basic needs,
Hmm.
and food is one of our
Hmm.
core basic needs.
Hmm.
Hydrating, it's one of our core basic needs. And so, speaking of hydrating, I'll have a drink here.
Yeah.
Whenever the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question,
Hmm.
we know what our core, when we learn or know or are aware of our core basic needs. And I
Hmm.
think everyone would agree that food is one of our core basic needs, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
When there is disorder around our core basic needs, then
Hmm.
we need to address the emotion
Hmm.
that's connected with it. So
Right.
if you're eating way more than what you need
Hmm.
to live and survive, and that
Hmm.
becomes uncomfortable for you, you're now bloated, you're now feeling, you know, sick, your blood pressure is increasing, like
Hmm.
you're having more and more issues. We know that
Hmm.
that's too much.
Hmm.
If you're not eating, right, your core
Hmm.
basic needs are not being met also,
Hmm.
for very similar reasons. You have an
Hmm.
emotion, depression, or whatever you're feeling that's having you rejecting food,
Hmm.
your core basic needs.
Hmm.
So when that happens, either way, there's an imbalance, there's an extreme on each end. And what we're looking for, whether it's that you're eating way more than what you need, and so
Hmm.
that's zapping your energy, or you're not eating, now you're going to have
Hmm.
issues with not having enough energy, right? You're going to
Hmm.
eventually get sick. Your body
Yeah.
needs nutrients to live, right? This is
Hmm.
the logic. This is the obvious. This is a biological need that we
Right.
have. And so when we're not feeling balanced and we're not
Hmm.
meeting that need, right, there may be some wiggle room within the
Hmm.
area of balance, right? But when
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
extreme or extreme on either end, now we
Yeah.
know that a
Some
rooter,
imbalance. Yeah.
right, there's a root cause
Hmm.
to this issue. And so that's when we're addressing the emotion, right?
Hmm.
And so we
Hmm.
have to be honest with ourselves, like, hey, am
Yeah.
I okay? It's a check-in that oftentimes, I know for me growing up, I didn't know to check in with Jason
Hmm.
to see, like, hey, how are you doing? What's going
Hmm.
on? Often say the one thing people want to is to be listened to. It's not the only thing, but one thing, when someone's talking to someone else, they want them to listen to them. It's very interesting for our own selves. We don't listen to ourselves. When our body
Hmm.
is talking, we ignore it. We don't listen. And so
Yeah.
that's just, I think it's one of the first steps is creating that awareness and listening in to what is our body trying to tell us when we're under eating? What is our body trying to tell us when we're eating more than what
Hmm.
our body needs? or when we're not
Mm-hmm.
eating enough to sustain our body. I try to avoid the overeating and undereating, but more of not giving our body what it needs and
Yeah.
giving our body, not giving our body what it needs so that we're filling that void with food,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when
Okay.
we really
Mm-hmm.
call it what it is, now we can start to say, okay, well, what is where is the emotional void? What is it? Start
Yeah,
digging in a
yeah.
little
I think
deeper.
it's really good way that you put it. Like rather than using the words like overeating or undereating, I think the precise need that a person should eat. I mean, like
Hmm.
that is good perspective. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. But exactly, like if you could tell me how I should put that in a practice, right? Uh, because life is too fast, right? I
Hmm.
mean, we don't have time to find a place, some place where I can do a tapping for 5-10 minutes and come back to a normal situation, and then I can have my lunch or dinner. So I'm still not able to visualize in real life scenario how I can do tapping in such situation.
So what I want anybody who has that question,
Mm-hmm.
um, what I want you to do right now
Mm-hmm.
is to just find this point here on the center
Mm-hmm.
of your chest. And I just want you to tap there and just take a breath. And I know that we're having a conversation here, or the others are watching this, but this is literally what you can do while you're watching television. This is
Mm-hmm.
literally what you can do, if it's safe to do while you're driving. This is just what I
Mm-hmm.
do while I'm driving, one hand on the wheel and one
Mm-hmm.
hand tapping. And I don't find it to be dangerous because if you're driving a stick shift, a
Mm-hmm.
5-speed vehicle, you don't have both hands on the wheels anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
if I drive an automatic, so it's okay for me to tap with one
Mm-hmm.
hand while I'm driving
Mm-hmm.
with the other, because the act of tapping, and I think that this is when I work with clients, a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
they get such profound results, not just because of me and my coaching, but because it's really because they're doing the tapping. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes people forget, they don't realize, and that's one of my missions, is to help people to get it in their minds and really understand that it is the setup statement, it is what we're saying, it is all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
yes. But there
Mm-hmm.
is a piece to this where it's just the technology. This is an
Yeah.
energy technology. So it
Mm-hmm.
works if you tap. But if you don't tap,
That's a really
it
good
doesn't
word,
work.
Jason. Energy technology. I
So
heard it for the
yeah,
first time.
yeah.
It's nice.
So we're just
Yeah.
doing it, and that's it. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as distracting as it may be, as odd as it may feel, that's how I felt when I first started. I mean, keep it real, right? I
Mm-hmm.
felt like this is odd, this is weird, like tapping on the points in your body, but I just like to, on a very basic level, just find
Mm-hmm.
your point here. This is the one that resonates with me. Just
Mm-hmm.
find this point and just start tapping. If you're watching
Mm-hmm.
television, or if you're driving, or if you connect with the emotion,
Mm-hmm.
fine. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
connect with the emotion, then you're working on the subconscious.
Okay, then I think I'm doing the same thing. Probably, as you said,
Yeah.
for you, this is the point that you are able to relate to. For me,
Hmm.
it is the top of the head.
Yeah.
So
So just just
yeah,
just
yeah,
go there and just start
mm-hmm.
tapping, because one
Right.
of the things that you can't do tapping wrong, but I
See, I can
always
just
say
feel it, Jason. I can
you
just
can
feel
just
it.
feel it.
This
Yeah.
this top of the head is my point. Like
Yeah.
so.
It's your
As soon
point.
as I start tapping on this point, I feel that my breathing becomes normal. Okay, I'm able to breathe fully, and yeah. So I think I got the answer. So
Yeah,
and
it's just do it.
I'm doing the same thing. And I think I wanted to you verified, you validated my the way I do. So yeah, I'm on right track.
Yeah, I mean, you're always on the right track, because I mean,
Yeah.
you're great. You're doing a great work, and I've seen your work on Instagram and how you're just really spreading the message.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I love your work. Um, but I think that that's the thing, is it
Yeah.
does look different for everybody. Just
Mm-hmm.
like this is my point. This is yours. And
Yeah.
someone else
Yeah.
may want to just tap on the side of the eye and feel the
Right.
results. But if you do the tapping, that's the thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't,
Mm-hmm.
you just want to tap. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's just to start
Right.
tapping. And we can always go
Right.
deeper. Like, even
Of course.
us,
Yeah.
like, we are always
Yeah. Yeah.
looking, how can we go deeper and take our work to the next level? That's always going to be the
Right.
case. But when we're just starting out, I think removing a lot of the rules
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, the rules and the shoulds, like, you should do this,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it this way, just taking all of
Mm-hmm.
the pressure. This is a reducing technique, a stress
Technique.
reduction
Yeah.
technique. So we want to
Yeah.
just make sure that we're not adding stress
Stress.
to the stress
Correct.
reduction technique.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for people like who maybe not knowing the emotional eating, uh, how do you want to explain them about weight loss or obesity or you know overweight or
Hmm.
underweight? I mean, how do you want to
Yeah.
yeah say them? Like the tapping can
Hmm.
help them and hmm,
Hmm.
yeah
One
yeah.
of the things in my coaching is a big piece is awareness, because once you
Mm-hmm.
become aware of kind
Mm-hmm.
of who you are, where you've come from, and where you want to be, then you can connect with yourself in the current state better,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so with things like weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
I like for anybody to just define what that means.
Mm-hmm.
What does weight loss mean? Like, it's a very clear thing, and it just
Mm-hmm.
means that you lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the reality is,
Mm-hmm.
every time I go to the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
I lose weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every
Mm-hmm.
single time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I'm exhaling the breath,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's weight loss.
Yeah.
When there's so many things, we're losing weight every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so the greater question is, what how do you interpret weight loss?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
While
How do
you are
you
speaking,
interpret?
yeah, sorry. I mean, while you're speaking, Jason, I was just remembering things said by Louise Hay, right? I mean, she always talks about the perfect health or perfect weight, and not this overweight or underweight thing. So yeah, I think we should focus on
Hmm.
perfect health and weight rather than uh, other things. So
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I you please go
No,
ahead.
no,
Yeah.
thank you for mentioning that. And so when you understand
Mm.
that you
Yeah,
gain weight
it's all
and
about one how one interprets the weight,
yeah,
right?
and what does it mean to
And
you? So each person, you can
mm,
ask yourself that question. What does weight loss mean to me?
mm,
Is it the literal weight loss, or does it mean something
good
else? Does
appearance, yeah, or good appearance.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
does it how do you interpret weight loss? Do you interpret weight loss as a good thing? Do you
Mm-hmm.
interpret it as a bad thing? Or is weight
Mm,
loss neutral for you? And that's what we're looking
mm,
for, is for weight loss to be neutral, because it is what it is when it comes to weight
mm-hmm.
loss. But weight
Mm-hmm.
loss does not define our health. Weight
Yeah.
loss does not define how we look.
Mm-hmm.
It does not define our mindset, or it doesn't define much of anything other than the fact that we lost weight. So
Right.
what I like to help people to get to is, your shoe. If somebody wears a size 8 shoe,
Mm-hmm.
or a size 10 shoe, it's just like, oh, that's your shoe size. People don't
Mm-hmm.
have a big complex around their shoe
Mm-hmm.
size, or
Mm-hmm.
the color of their hair, or
Mm-hmm.
how long their fingernails are.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't become such a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are
Mm-hmm.
some people, I'm sure you can find someone who has an issue with the color of their hair or something like that. And so, they're
Yeah.
dyeing their hair or whatever. But generally
Mm.
speaking, we don't have these complex uh,
Mm-hmm.
emotions around our ears, or things like that. But the body weight,
Mm-hmm.
the total
Mm-hmm.
body weight, it
Mm-hmm.
has. it has a moral significance to it. And that is
Mm-hmm.
because there has been a lot of pressure
Yeah,
to look like what is the model.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
model says
yeah,
that a female should be this height with this
mm,
length hair and it should be this color and
yeah,
her body should look like this and be this shape, and then the
yeah,
man, he should look like this and he should have a six pack and is this and
yeah,
this. And so now we have this model
yeah,
that everybody's aiming for, and they
yeah,
forget about themselves, they forget about
yeah,
their own needs and wants and what's going to truly make them happy, because they're
right.
chasing after these ideals that are not
Ideas, yeah,
really.
going
Yeah,
to
it's
have,
not
yeah,
it's not going to make
mm,
you happy. Weight loss doesn't bring happiness. Weight loss does not improve health either.
right, right,
So
right,
yeah, it,
yeah,
it, it
so,
increases stress because that's
yeah,
the focus is on something that's not going to bring you happiness. And anytime
yeah,
you're working so hard, just like when people work
mm,
so hard for money, money doesn't bring
yeah,
happiness. So you work so
yeah,
hard for money, and
yeah,
now you have money and you just want more, or you're not
yeah,
satisfied. Same with weight
yeah,
loss. Like you lose weight, and then that's why people have body dysmorphia, because they
yeah,
thought that they were going to be happy, but what they do is they look in the mirror and they just see
mm-hmm,
their same self, because they are
right,
their same self. They just
right,
are a smaller version of the limiting beliefs that they have. They're a smaller version of the fears. They're a smaller
wow,
version of everything because they never
wow,
did address the
wow.
emotional component. So body dysmorphia is still going to be there.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that. You know, it's a, of course, the body size is small. I mean, it's smaller, but
Yeah,
that psychology, that fear, that emotion is still there, probably in some
yeah,
lesser version. But yeah, I think correct,
yeah. And
correct. Yeah,
it actually increases the fear in the limiting beliefs and the doubts and stuff, because your body is physically you're smaller, but
yeah,
it just brings greater fears. So just like
right.
very, very extremely wealthy people,
Mm-hmm,
there's this saying, I don't necessarily agree with the way that it's phrased, but the
mm-hmm,
saying, the greater I forget how it goes now, but um the idea is that when you have more, there's more that you have to look after and more that you have to. I forget what it is. The greater the something, the greater the demon, or something like that. Um, but if you're someone who's making $250,000 and you have a modest home and things like that, modest, depending on
mm-hmm,
whatever your definition of
mm-hmm,
modesty is,
mm-hmm,
and now you're a millionaire, right? Once you
mm-hmm,
become a
mm-hmm.
millionaire and you change your lifestyle, now you have more to look after,
Yeah,
more to care for, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you're asking about weight loss. When you lose weight and that's your
Mm-hmm,
goal, to lose weight,
mm-hmm,
now you
mm-hmm.
feel like you have to maintain that weight.
Yeah, and I was exactly coming to that question that most of the people, they go to the gym, they follow that some diet, everything, and all the stuff, and they achieve their their weight, or how they wanted to look like, but then again they go back to the same state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, as you told, that those emotions are still there, right? So you just have found a shortcut, and but no, it's not
Mm-hmm.
the long-term solution, right? It's
Yeah,
again
not
going
at
to come
all.
back. So unless you resolve your this emotional issues, with tapping or with any tools and techniques, right?
Yeah, whatever you
But
choose.
yeah, but this will still be there if you don't address these things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it would be a quick fix rather than a permanent solution. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Correct, correct. Yeah. And what about, Jason, about the cravings? I know whatever you said, of course, relates to this as well. But craving is really a tough, and it's not easy to avoid, right?
Mm-hmm.
For all the people across all ages, right? I mean, the craving of whether it's chocolates or ice creams or pastries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is unavoidable, and I think most of the people right now whether in US or India or anywhere, right, are suffering from all different kind of this eating related disorders, right? So I believe this tapping can help there as well. I can understand it's not an overnight solution that tapping is going to give us, but it requires some patience, right? I believe. Or is there any way you want to, suggest people how tapping can immediately help them? I know it's not a overnight journey, but yes,
Mm-hmm.
with the simple thing that you are just doing right now, right? I think
Yeah.
that gives brings you more awareness about whatever you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, cravings are such thing that is, you cannot avoid that. So
Yeah.
yeah, how tapping can help there.
Um, so I will talk about how tapping can help, but the first thing for cravings is what I recommend, and it's just gonna sound strange maybe for some, but I
Mm-hmm.
recommend that people give in to their cravings.
Mm-hmm.
Just just eat the food that you're craving. That's the very first thing. So I also um, support people with intuitive eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of the things with cravings is the body, there's biological cravings, things that we crave.
Mm-hmm.
When we want or need, when the body needs water,
Mm-hmm.
we feel thirst.
Mm-hmm.
When the body
Mm-hmm.
when the body needs food, we feel hunger. So
Mm-hmm.
those are technically biologically the biological cravings. On the emotional
Mm-hmm.
side, there
Mm-hmm.
are there's hunger of
Mm-hmm.
four types that we talk about as it relates to
Mm-hmm.
intuitive eating. So you have the biological
Mm-hmm.
hunger that I mentioned, like if you're thirsty or you're hungry, the body's going to ask for that. You know, even
Mm-hmm.
my son, he's 2 years old, and he's just like water, water, because he's thirsty, or he's like chicken because he's hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we do have emotional hunger, and so
Mm-hmm.
that is when we are feeling sad, or here in our culture here, whenever someone, and I think it's worldwide, whenever someone dies, people bring food to support
Mm-hmm.
the person emotionally. That
Mm-hmm.
is that is a normal thing that, which all cultures have done for thousands of years. And the reason is
Mm-hmm.
because food satisfies an emotional need. Even when we're
Mm-hmm.
born, sorry, I got
Mm-hmm.
distracted. Even when we're born, the mother
Mm-hmm.
nurses the baby or gives the baby a
Mm-hmm.
bottle to satisfy the biological need, but also the emotional need. And the bonding between the mother who is nursing her baby is an emotional connection
Mm-hmm.
for the mother and the
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
So she's nourishing her baby and giving the emotional need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The third thing is what we call taste hunger. So maybe you feel like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
have a taste for something and I just want to taste it. And then
Mm-hmm.
the fourth is practical hunger. So if I
Mm-hmm.
realize that I'm going to be on a long flight to come visit my friend in India, I may eat a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more before I get on the flight because I know this is going to be a long flight. I should probably
Mm-hmm.
store up food, just like the
Mm-hmm.
bears do before they hibernate. It's just a practical thing to do. So when
Yeah.
these four types of hunger, when
Mm-hmm.
any one of them is dismissed,
Mm-hmm.
ignored, not paid
Mm-hmm.
attention to, we have an
Mm-hmm.
imbalance. So if
Yeah.
someone has an emotional hunger and they feel like, man, I really want some chocolate because I'm feeling sad, but
Mm-hmm.
they now deny themselves the chocolate, or they have a
Mm-hmm.
taste for chocolate and they're
Mm-hmm.
denying themselves the chocolate because they think chocolate is bad, the body is going to ask for that
Mm-hmm.
chocolate. And it's probably going to result in a binge because you're
Mm-hmm.
depriving, you're resisting for so long that now you're feeling the need to, now the body can no longer resist anymore.
Resistant. Yeah.
There's no more willpower left, no more control, self-control
Mm-hmm.
left. Now you're going in for the chocolate. So the reason that
Mm-hmm.
we use tapping is because tapping addresses the several things, right? But
Mm-hmm.
in this discussion, what tapping is going to do is help you to change your relationship with the chocolate. Is chocolate bad? Why do you
Mm-hmm.
feel chocolate is bad? Who told you chocolate was bad?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just having a
Mm-hmm.
proof. of concept. There's no proof there. What happens
Mm-hmm.
is we lose trust. We don't trust ourselves around sweet foods. We don't trust ourselves because we feel like if I eat this, I can't stop eating it. And that's an emotional issue.
Mm-hmm.
Or we don't love our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
so we feel like I don't really want to eat that food because it's going to make me fat, and being fat is bad. But that's an emotional issue. It has nothing
Okay.
to do with the actual
Ah,
food. It has to do with your relationship with
okay.
the food, your belief around the food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I hope that
Mm-hmm.
this kind of helps you to understand where we
No,
start
absolutely.
with
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
emotional eating. It's about the emotion. It has nothing to do with the food. The
And
food is
with
not
the
bad. The food is labeled as bad because we don't feel that we have the correct amount of willpower, which is not true.
mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
don't have
Right.
control. We don't feel safe around that food. I'm going to overeat. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
overdo it. You know, those are the things that we say, like, oh, this food is so tempting to me. And temptation is stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fear that I can't stop eating, that's stress. All of these things
Yeah.
cause stress in the body. So that's what we need
Right.
to address.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No,
And
absolutely. I think
mhm,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can totally understand that. Like yeah, that's really good perspective that Jason you're giving. And that makes me think about some of my habits as well, right, around food and all. So yeah, I think it's really good, Jason,
but
for your.
it's about
Mhm.
awareness, not judgment, right? So you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
what I like is what you said. It just brings up some of your habits. So now you can
yeah,
analyze them without judgment,
right,
but just saying like, oh, I noticed that I do that, or I noticed
right.
that about me, and that awareness is really powerful.
Right, right. And avoiding certain food, like, I mean, some junk food like pizza or pasta or burger or anything, right? I mean, that is not going to help, right? I mean,
No,
that is not going to help. But yes, I mean, as you said, you should continue to eat, uh, and but with more and more awareness. So probably I can say that, after a certain period of time, after some time, you realize that, okay, which kind of foods are giving me a real nutrition, and
yeah,
which is really my body is
hmm,
asking, rather than just dumping certain things which is not
yeah.
going to help my body.
So
So
can I mention something about what you just said?
mm-hmm,
So junk foods,
mm-hmm,
bad foods, garbage foods, and things like that. It really, um, it's really challenging for people to think of pizza or burgers
mm-hmm,
as as junk food, which a lot of people think. French fries, pizzas, burgers, ice cream. They put it in this category as junk food or foods that are bad for you. So if you
mm-hmm,
label food as bad, whenever you eat it, it's entering your body and it's going to do something bad to you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
In intuitive eating, they call it fun foods. I kind of am not a fan of that term either, because if this is fun foods, then what are other foods not fun, right? So what I like to help people to understand is that there are certain foods that have a, a different level of nutritional value, right?
mm-hmm,
So if you're going to have a pizza and you're going to
mm-hmm,
have a salad, right?
mm-hmm,
Or you're going to have, that's not to say salad, because salad is just vegetables, but pizza has a few things. It has meat, or I don't know, if you're going to have a plate of food with a protein or pizza chicken and rice and broccoli,
mm-hmm,
whereas having
mm-hmm,
a pizza that may have broccoli and chicken toppings, and then you have the bread instead of rice, for instance. In some ways there is balance there,
mm-hmm,
right? There's some semblance of balance there. What
mm-hmm,
I'm not a nutritionist, so that's not what I'm here to really get into. But
mm-hmm,
what I do want to say about that is how we label the pizza as being bad. No one is going to want to eat something that's bad. And the reason that it's bad is because the pizza has a moral value that has been put on it by
yeah,
people. And so
right,
if salad is good and pizza
mm,
is bad, then I'm a bad person for eating the pizza and I'm a
mm,
good boy for eating the salad. But that's not
mm,
true, because
yeah,
what if I have, if I have intestinal issues, then salad is not a good match for me, and it won't have the nutritional value that I want. Yeah, I think celiacs or something. If people know Crohn's disease, if people can't eat raw vegetables if they have Crohn's, right? And so I'm just saying that to say pizza
Yeah,
is pizza and a burger is
yeah,
a burger.
yeah. Please,
And
please don't label
and
it with
and
good
if
or
you
bad or
yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that judgment that you put on food is you're also judging yourself when you eat it. If I eat a pizza, I just want to enjoy the pizza. I don't want to
Yeah,
feel guilt around the pizza. So we're eating,
yeah.
we no longer can just eat pizza. Now we have to eat the bad and the guilt and the shame and everything that you put into that pizza. And now I'm eating it. And after I eat it, what do I feel? Guilty.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
yeah,
have eaten that. And now I start
yeah.
doing things to get forgiveness. Like, oh, this week I'm just gonna eat salads. I'm only gonna eat healthy
Exactly,
foods.
exactly.
Right.
That
So now
cycle goes
you're
on. Yeah,
punishing yourself for
yeah,
enjoying pizza. It's insane.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, true. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I would say, of course, I'm tapping practitioner. I can totally, endorse this kind of, usage of tapping in this kind of situation, right? So,
Hmm.
uh, so totally agree with you, Jason. I mean, you have really good ideas and perspective to how to look at the food and, really find that enjoyment, that nutrition from it, rather than just uh, wondering, or not wondering, but I would say uh, feeling guilt, or uh, I don't find the exact word for that, but yes, I can understand what you are trying to say with all these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah,
One of the things that
thank you,
I
Jason.
like to help people to view
Mm-hmm.
food is a self-care tool. So we're using
Mm-hmm.
food to care for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's there to nourish us.
Mm-hmm.
Food is there to make us feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Food should be enjoyed. You should
Mm-hmm.
love eating food.
Mm-hmm.
And when those self-care pieces are
Mm-hmm.
lacking and we start having guilt around food and
Mm-hmm.
food is starting to make us feel sick,
Mm-hmm.
or we're hiding and sneaking and shame around food. We just need to
Mm-hmm.
evaluate that. We need to look into and see what is that?
Mm-hmm.
How can I have more loving
Yeah.
my food, enjoying my food, being nourished by my food,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
smiley things. And
Yeah.
how can I have less of the shame and the embarrassment and the guilt around food?
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it directly relates to your confidence level as well, right? And those who are, wants to focus on weight loss, or whatever it is, right? Their appearance is directly relating to your confidence, because that's how you are seen to people, right?
Hmm.
So for those who are lacking confidence, and they want to they're worried about their appearance and everything, I would say, so they can try out the tapping technique, right? So there are many ways tapping can help uh, around this eating issues, right? Eating disorders and all. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
right, right. Anything, Jason, that how do you practice? Of course, you are practicing daily tapping, but is it something that you're practicing after lunch, before lunch, before dinner? How do you? What is your
Um,
uh, secret?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to schedule it. I used to set timers. I still recommend that people set timers because tapping is a very, if you're just starting doing it, it's very, it's very easy to forget to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that my tip would be to set a timer to do it, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you can, you set it throughout the day just so you can tap. There's no amount of time that you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to set the tone that people would just tap with us while we're having this conversation, right? To feel the
Mm-hmm.
difference. in your body, but just to do it. Set a timer. There are apps out there. There's all sorts of things that
Yeah.
you can do to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you're tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say that, to be honest, like find
Mm-hmm.
somebody like you to work with, where people can go deeper, and or whoever you feel that you're aligned with, like
Yeah.
work with a practitioner so that you can
Yeah.
establish some goals and reach your goals using tapping.
Right.
I work with a tapping coach myself. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I can't imagine not working with someone to help me
Mm-hmm.
through, through this
Yeah.
process. Like you
Right.
really need that.
Yeah. 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 And there are no side effects. That's the best part of tapping, right, Jason?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so, of course, I mean, and when you are targeting any eating related things, of course, you don't want any side effects. So, probably tapping is the best way that
Hmm.
I think I can suggest, right, everyone. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Yeah. So how do you do tapping? Do you practice it daily in the morning? And what is your schedule look like? If you could share.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
tap throughout the day, just kind of like what we're doing now. And if I'm working on the computer or something, I'm not tapping, but I will just take like a break
Mm-hmm.
and just like literally just go and watch the clock for a minute and just do a couple rounds just to tune into myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people will wait until they feel like overly stressed and then they'll tap, which that's okay. But I think that if we catch it
Well, that
before,
happens to me.
yeah,
I'm the one of those.
yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think the alarm and the setting the catching it earlier is going to help you because you're being proactive. So the more proactive you are
Mm-hmm.
with tapping, you're going to notice that it's going to keep out of those 911 fires where you're like, oh, the keep you away from
Mm-hmm.
the tens, right? But if you're waiting to
Mm-hmm.
you're a 10 to tap that
Mm-hmm.
down, it actually takes
Mm-hmm.
longer. Where in the
Mm-hmm.
morning you can catch it, that same emotion that's a three, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, when all of the stress builds on the day, it just, it moves to a 10. But if you had actually tapped that down in the morning, maybe it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't even be on the, on
Mm-hmm.
in your purview at all. So
Yeah.
that's one
Yeah.
thing I would say. We know the tapping points and
Mm-hmm.
going through the rounds and things like that. But I
Yeah.
also really am a big proponent of people just tapping, just finding a
Mm-hmm.
point. So in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I would say you need the structure. Yeah, you need the
Mm-hmm.
structure.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a
Mm-hmm.
training. Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
training for people to learn tapping?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I do sessions with people or in
Hmm.
one-to-one, and I teach them the basic, those 9 points
Okay.
tapping, right?
Yeah.
So that I usually follow that. But I got this good idea that, like it's not necessary that to follow exactly those 9 points, but yes, find your best point that you can relate to. That in fact, I tell in my sessions as well that no one, no one is like will everybody will not have that same point, right, that they can relate to, but yes, each individual will be able to find the they can relate to that point and find that what they're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in
So
the beginning, though, it is good to have the structure because people they don't have something a guide to tell them, then
mhm.
they just won't use it because they'll be confused. So I would say
Correct.
like go
Correct.
through the process, right? I have a
Mm-hmm.
training on my Instagram if anyone's
Mm-hmm.
interested or if you have something that you can send them.
Yep.
And you learn the points and
Yeah.
tapping is a practice. So the more
Yeah.
you practice it, the more you'll start to see where you don't really need to stick to a script. You can just kind of do this and
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
come very
Yeah.
natural to you. You'll know which points to you'll know the points that are moving the energy the most, whether it's the top of the head or on the,
Yeah.
on the chest. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I can understand. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So yes, Jason. I wish I could, like continue on and on. We are, of course, you
Yes.
had given me 30 minutes, but we have crossed, I think, 50 minutes. But
We
yes,
have
thank you so
really,
much for your time, Jason. And
yeah.
uh, I would love to connect with you again whenever you have time. Uh, I'll ping you, and we'll find your time.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you,
It was a
Jason.
great conversation. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. See you, Jason. See you. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you for your time. Yeah. Bye.